Hello and welcome to Random Roleplay. I'm Deven of TRG Network, and we're back with some more Planeswalkers goodness. This is the episode without Kobold in it, so vibe's pretty different for this one, not gonna lie. Doesn't help that the party doesn't have Arudim or Naleek to help bail them out of the hot water they got themselves into. Especially doesn't help that your boy here did not have too much prepped for this session, as he was trying too hard to find some material in older editions to help play off of in the development of Celestia. Had I known that, I probably would have been able to develop something a little bit more original in that time. But alas, where we're at, if anything seems a little vague at any point during the session, that's why. Do apologize for that, but I honestly think that's more my paranoia than any real legitimate gripe you might have. And now, this week's hint. Now he's always watching. That's not a quote this time, just an implicative statement, but take it how you will. But without further ado, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Trying to get to 100 subs. We're not, Mr. Beast with it, so hitting that bell could help find the videos a little bit too. Sub feed isn't always friendly to us. Help us out. But without further ado, held y'all up long enough in this intro. And so, we return to the first heaven of Celestia, Lunia, and the party in the form of Cassius the Tiefling, Arudim the Half-Orc, Naleek the Half-Elf, Crantor the Gallataur, Deis the Lamian Elf. Last we left off, Naleek was sucked into what was thought to be a bag of holding. Arudim dove for the bag, but it was ultimately Dream Lake of the Ninth Life to save them by destroying. In frustration, Cassius, Crantor, and a returning Deis confront Jortix in his shop. Quickly jumping to conclusions, Cassius and Crantor rigorously terrorize this halfling into submission after Deis kills his parrot, only doing what it was supposed to do. Eventually, concluding that it wasn't intentional, but still blaming Jortix for their friend's fate, they are ultimately confronted by the city guard. Meanwhile, in the astral plane, Naleek and Arudim assess the situation and ultimately attempt to return to Celestia the standard way. Getting hit by a psychic wind ultimately results in their separation, but with Naleek's blessing, Arudim makes his way back to Celestial Zone. The rest of the party in Beautiful ultimately convinces the guard their innocence, but not after Crantor's contractual offer from Kosol earlier in the day comes into play. The guard having to follow through on whatever report may come from Jortix's end of the investigation, the party heads back to their shop, being escorted by the guard once more. So, Cassius, Crantor, yes. You're all being escorted by these two guards back to Jortix's shop, the tall human Asimar, and the over-armored dwarf, kind of leading you too, looking black every now and then.
Cassius is falling in. He's thinking about things. He's having a moment of reflection like, yeah, my older brother would probably be really pissed at me right now.
Deis would surprisingly have an actual serious look on her face for the first time since you've met her.
Crantor is mainly focused on the contract and all that goes with it, and the sendings that he received. Kind of has a blank look on his face, just trying to figure everything out.
Guys, more so lost in your own thoughts as you're being led slightly uphill towards Jortix's shop. Quickly start to notice the streets bustling less with civilians and more with knights. It's coming up on the shop, you can now see roughly a dozen knights posted out in one way or another on the street around the area. Some of them seem to be looking around, keeping an eye out in general, whereas others more so just seem to be there for the sake of the presence. But you ultimately see the two other knights that were with this dwarf and Asimar that were with you. And no formalities whatsoever, they just gesture for the two escorting you to come to them. And the dwarf will turn around. At this point, you guys have a few knights, not in your immediate vicinity, but in the general area to where they would have a sense of security. So they say, hold it right here, we'll be right back to you. Does the dwarf...
Yeah, we're being handled.
Quote unquote handled. By Celestia terms. They're not like in your personal space. They're not like keeping a hand on your shoulder or anything. They're like across the street. All right, I got my eye on you, kind of thing. Very casual for what you would consider custody. The knights essentially have their eye on you as the two escorting you previously will step off to discuss with the two they left with Jortix. At this point, you guys left here for a good few minutes. You can camp as you please, or you can just go out, depending on how you guys would be at the time.
Deis would slide over to Crantor and ask him about that letter, because I'm guessing she doesn't know much other than it's something important that has to deal with a demonic incursion they detected.
Crantor will show her the letter and give a brief highlight of what they went through with Kosel.
Okay.
In the handouts, I will say you can go into the handout section underneath the character section, and there should be.
I see it. Okay. Does she know the name Kosel in her from her travels?
It is Kosil, but
Kosel, sorry.
Crantor intentionally mispronounces it to be disrespectful. So, no, Deis does not know of a Kosel.
Okay.
He's a dick.
He's a dick. Don't worry about it.
Basically.
I mean, Crantor's a lot nicer than Cassius was to him, that's for damn sure.
Studying the contracts, does this mean you'll be delaying your trip to Sigil, or does this mean we must accelerate towards it?
It's best if we accelerate, I think.
I still have some sending spells left. If we need to inform Arudim and Naleek, we can do so. Don't worry, this shouldn't be any trouble. I've been kicked out of countries for worse than this.
It's a point of pride, though. Honestly, looking back, the gods are right. We should have went to the gods first.
We were overcome by emotion and fear for our friends.
And who knows what ties of fate this man has angled. Who knows how many lives have been lost from his ignorance.
I mean, you're not wrong, but...
I've lived over 800 years and never seen such incompetence from a merchant in a long time.
Yes, but... family being what it is, me brother would be disappointed.
I won't tell if you won't.
Well, probably a great-grandmother by now, or something like that.
Great-grandmother.
Oh, I had a few dozen kids along the way.
Cassius
looks
just
very
kind of
uncomfortable.
eyes. How does that work exactly?
Oh, man.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Just
No.
smile on her
Guys, you
face.
have no idea the conversations I had to have about... Just go on.
She will actually slink up to you, Cassius, like nose to nose almost. Curious, are you?
Well, I'm not talking about the process of making the child. I'm more talking about what comes after, because it's like, top half, elf, I'm assuming live birth. Bottom half, snake, eggs. I'm a bit confused here.
His curiosities are purely biological.
Coming from the tiefling.
She has literally had the biggest shit-eating grin on her face.
Some of the knights are like, what the fuck's going on over here?
And being this close, you can see that her pupils are slitted.
Ah, snake. Good to know. By the way, could you do me a quick favor? Cassius will pull out the ring of spell storing and the ring of swimming that he got from Jortix. I just want to make sure these aren't going to devour me. Could you possibly identify them for me?
Oh my god.
He's right to be afraid, alright?
Jortex, Glitterfinger, glitter dangles, jingling, devouring, dangling, worth digging.
That's gonna need to change the sign.
I'm not a wizard.
Alright, we'll be right back then. And Cassius is going to walk over to what looks to be like one of the paladins or something.
Alright, yeah, you'll probably just kind of cross the street, more or less, and walk over as you see a couple of them posted, and they're like looking at you pretty much the whole time, but they're not like mean mugging you or anything. As you approach, you're just like, yeah?
Boy, mate, given the circumstances what they are, two of me friends being eaten by a bag found at this guy's shop, I also got these there. I want to make sure that they're not going to, well, eat me, should I wear them. Either you happen to have Identify on you.
Can I bum smoke? Sure. You mind asking me an Identify? They joke with each other. It's just like, nah man, sorry, we don't have an Identify on hand.
Crantor will glare from across the street.
Look up at you, look back down, look back up at you again. Oh wait, look back down. I didn't notice. I'm just being cheeky. No. Honestly, the only person around who I just identifies is the Ninth Life's place. I mean, otherwise you'd have to get a scroll of Identify or know the spell. And sorry, I'm a paladin, not a cleric.
Noted. I don't know a whole lot about magic. I'm more of a martial kind of guy. My older brother was a city god back in the material plane, and ours was the way of the sword. So, forgive the ignorance, mate.
Nice. No worries. You good?
And he'll just kind of put the rings back in his bag and trot back over to the group. No luck. But he did say that if we head back over to the Ninth Life, we can get them identified. We'll see whatever his cost is when we get there.
Shouldn't be
I believe it was 10 gold or 10 platinum?
10 platinum, yes, Crantor.
10 platinum.
This was just an hour ago for you, so you remember this.
Yeah.
Wow.
He also remembers that he had a nice set of full plate armor that he...
I think this is the first in-game day to span more than 2 sessions since, like, the beginning of the game. Beginning of the campaign. This has been the longest in-game day. But yeah,
This is the day that...
you guys are chatty. Eventually, Cassius, you make your way back over, and just as you're doing so, the human and the dwarf walk back over to you once more. The human, again, 6'5", glowing hair and eyes, is like, it's an auburn color, but it almost has like a bronze glow to them. Of course, the dwarf next to him, the human goes, "I'm Nigel. He's Emerin. We're gonna be taking you to Heart's Faith."
Okay. No idea what that is.
Oh, it's the next city over. It's actually pretty close. It's not too far. But yes, you were going to see the Lamasu there.
The Lama?
The Lamasu. Does the dwarf he's just like pursing his lips, almost like smirking about it. There.
Well, we'll get this all settled out then. Quite
I want to insight that.
Yeah, I do too.
Go ahead.
Me or the guard?
No, both. They're inside in the guard, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I want to insight Deis.
What is on her mind in all of this?
That is a 17 insight.
Alrighty. A little closer because my mic is kind of not picking me up sometimes. Yeah, you both can tell they're kind of, well, the human is pretty straight-faced, but the dwarf is getting a little cheeky, like almost like, hee, you're in trouble. As this, they're essentially taking you, this is their way of saying they're taking you downtown.
God, traffic court.
It's like, alright, so we're just gonna wait here for a few minutes for the carriage, and then we're gonna all load on. Don't worry, big guy, you're gonna fit.
I certainly hope you're providing a carriage of some prestige. It would not be good for a high cleric of Ion to be, I believe, shanghaied.
Yeah, and it wouldn't look good for representatives of gods to bully a halfling. It's just selling magical items, but...
Who was being blatantly ignorant and causing, I don't know, maybe possible deaths of it.
Ma'am, you killed his parrot. There have been no reports in the past in his over 100-year tenure in his very location of any incident of this whatsoever. I'm sorry that you all were the victims of this freak accident. I'm sorry you all were victims of this freak accident. But, alas, your reaction, your response to being victims of this freak accident is what has put you guys in this position today. So
Can I interject here? So, about the bird.
It was a squawking pigeon.
I don't know about her, but personally, I feel terrible about it, even though I didn't condone that. I just wanted to have a chat with the man. Scare him a little bit, obviously, but didn't want to kill anybody.
Yes, the bird was regrettable.
Before we leave...
Oh, don't you get to talking. He points at Crantor. You had no problem throwing your weight around in that shop. Jorgex will be lucky if he can ever look at a Gallataur without fear again.
Cass
He's
will...
lucky he didn't have me arguing with him.
I'm sure you're very threatening, ma'am. He says...
She will slide up to him and get
personal space there.
2 inches to his face.
It's going to slowly push you back.
I've had kings bow to me in fear.
That's nice.
Now, will there be drinks served in the carriage? I prefer something light in the afternoon.
Water should be good.
Whichever one of these is not speaking to Deis, I'm going to pull him to the side.
That would be the dwarf. The human's been doing most of the talking.
I'm going to look at the dwarf and just kind of motion. Oi, over here for a second, right?
Yeah?
Do me a favor. Listen, I feel really terrible about what my friend did to the bird, but didn't deserve that. And I'm going to pull out 30 platinum, put it in his hand. While we wait on the carriage, you mind running in and give that to him by way of apology for that?
That's real nice of you, and I would, but he's already on his way to Heart's Faith.
Noted.
He's a part of your guys' trial.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. I heard that.
Well, that was more information than I walked into this with. Thanks, mate.
He pats you on the shoulder. Good luck, man. And he kind of meanders back around the Aasimar back to the same position, who's kind of been talking this whole time as he pointed over up to the point that he had said the last thing he said. And they're all just kind of like waiting it out, obviously getting the distance from Deis again because that's a little close. But yeah, you guys wait roughly 10 minutes before you see several Pegasi descending with an extremely large carriage attached to glowing white ropes. It starts to descend, cutting through the glistening sparkle and the slow streaming miniature comets that course the top skyscrapers of Udisol and descends down, gracefully landing in the street. And all of a sudden, you guys start to hear a very subtle but harmonious hum coming from the ocean. Mind you, the ocean's probably a good mile from you guys or so.
You'll hear that.
Yes. There's many of the sea creatures. They hum the faith of the sea. Many ways to put it.
See, why couldn't we come here first instead of Avernus? That place was all fire. I mean, I didn't quite mind it, but still.
And
He shrugs.
Guides you guys up to this carriage. This carriage is over 20 feet long on the one side that has a double door. Crantor, you will easily fit in it, albeit having to duck. You can see that this carriage is almost built to be able to fit a single Pegasus in it, should it need to carry one, alongside accommodating a few people, because it is a very wide open space with very polished seats, very similar to the ones in the Silver Swords' Tavern, where it looks very marble-esque, but is actually very cozy, lining the perimeter of this carriage, so to say, but otherwise has a wide gap, roughly 15 feet in radius, in the center of the four seats, where there are windows lining the frame of all of the seats that make you very easy to see, and of course that very clear glass that it only seems to have existed here on Lunia thus far, where it is so clear you would not be able to know it's there if not for the glisten of the stars. And,
he says 15 feet in radius?
Is the open section in between the seats, yes. No, not in radius, I suppose, just 15 square feet.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I was say that's 30 feet in diameter. Then.
Yeah, that would actually. Yeah, no. I would say roughly it's like 25 feet. It's 25 square feet would be this whole carriage.
Okay. All right, that's a bit.
Yeah.
Still big, but.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from. It's not fucking like bus sized.
It's about a good expedition.
Yeah. So it's a nice. Yeah.
Also, are the Pegasi bigger than me?
If they had
I need to know, Advy.
If they had a human torso, yes, they would be, but they don't. So you're bigger.
Fuck yeah.
Haha! Superior biology triumphs again!
Well, when it comes to quadrupeds and, horsekin. Very competitive lot. Anyway.
So you guys will all ultimately load up onto this very, I will say luxurious. I have not given it much description, but it's one of those less is more carriages where it is themed after this silver heaven once more with the very silvery outline, several different tones of gray with the materials that aren't made of metals. They
sent us the limo, boys.
It, of course, reflects the stars ever so delicately, but not enough to blind those with sensitive eyes. It is a commanding presence.
I assume Deis is already rating the bar card.
If there is one.
There is not one.
Damn it.
As cozy as this is very clearly a militant carriage of sorts.
Worst arrest this week, Jesus.
As you all loaded in and the driver mans the Pegasi, they take off into the air and you begin gliding through what is essentially the clouds of this layer in the form of the fog of sparkle, the flowing streams of miniature comets that almost look like, I guess, the souls from Final Fantasy X, if anyone gets that reference.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You all take off and just going out over the beach when you start to veer off to the left. As you're looking out into the vast silvery sea, it starts off with that deep wine red, but as it goes out, the silver of the stars reflects off of it more and more until it turns into a silver and eventually a white horizon. And it's almost as if you guys can feel the astral plane in the vague distance, as if that's what the sea would lead to. And you veer off to the left, following the coastline, and you start to approach a city in the distance that has a square perimeter, a wall and a slight bay attached at the actual silvery sea. And this ride seems to almost go in slow motion, as if it's trying to entice you, as if it's trying to captivate you. It's so stunning, but you all know that there's some underlying tension to this whole situation. Probably makes it a little harder to enjoy. Save for Deis, who probably doesn't give a fuck.
That would be a no.
Yeah, she's probably just looking at...
Cass has run with criminal groups before, so...
This isn't Crantor's first time being in exile.
That's good to hear, Crantor. Well, you're flying there. See you ascending. But it's
Oh,
not
good.
from a voice you were expecting. Oh dear, not behaving much like a leader, are you? You're all screwed, but I can help. And you recognize that as Kosil the Damning's voice.
Above character respond 3 words: eat a dick.
Crantor will give the ascending equivalent of a dial tone.
Oh wow! Do remember Crantor has roughly 22 hours left on that contract. Oh man.
I just picture it's silent in the carriage, and all of a sudden we just all hear Crantor go, eh.
Yeah, just unhinges his jaw. The foul sound that comes out.
Oh, she would look over when he's doing that, like,
Full South Park Canadian.
In the Dwarven Asmar in there, Emran is gonna look. Did you just hang up on somebody?
Wrong number.
Right.
That wasn't who I think it was it, mate?
Someone who had the wrong number, yes.
Noted. I approve of the response, by the way.
It is the standard wrong number approach, yes.
I better try. I want an insight to see if I can figure out who it was. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Crantor will deliberately fail.
No. It's a check you'll have to pass. Actually, that's the thing. Is
Like deception or like?
Well, that's what I'm trying to discern. It's like, you know what? Because what would determine the DC that Cassius has to pass? You know what I'm saying?
Cassius will do this. He'll hold his hand out vertically and then turn it 180 degrees.
I'll just mark a basic DC. Go ahead and roll it insight.
could it go by the passive?
Yeah,
Here,
passive. Duh. Crantor, what would be your deception?
It is a 2.
Your deception is a 2. All right.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, DC 12.
Oh, okay. I have a +3 and I rolled a 10. I am not
Yes!
kidding you. That is a 13 insight.
Yeah, you just get. Oh, wait a minute. No.
And it's at that point that Cassius will just turn his hand around backwards, not breaking eye contact with Crantor.
Crantor will slowly nod.
I approve of the response, mate.
Oh man, if you guys ever meet another Rakshasa, you guys are just gonna maul the fuck out of them.
We really will. Like, even if they're cool, I don't care.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. They'll be like, "Oh, welcome to my Holiday Inn and hotel. This is where he's here."
If we ended up at a Holiday Inn, then we're already screwed. All right.
Oh.
Crantor is a Hilton guy through and through.
Oh, this man breaks me, folks. I don't know what to tell you. This man just crumble me. You guys continue towards this walled city, and almost going over it now, you can see several flying creatures above. As this is literally the only map I could find of this location. Not sure if it changed.
Ooh, this is an old school Atlas one. Nice.
2E, baby. This is a 2E.
Or the stories
product.
of 2E.
The stories of 2E, man.
Gotta feel old now.
Yeah, because 5E doesn't have any fucking content on the Outer Planes not named Bator or Abyss. Fuck's sake, Wizard Coast, can you give me something on Celestia? Can you give me something on Mechanus? Give me something! Not 9 Hells! But yes.
Why? It's already all there.
But it's been so aged because of all the cosmology changes and all this and that. The Abyss was changed from infinite layers to 666 layers back to infinite layers, you know. Bator was once not Bator, and then it became Bator, one of its... There's so much shit changed over time that 5e has not officially acknowledged by giving you, hey, yeah, this is what's up with Acheron, or hey, this is what's going on in the Beastlands. They give you a paragraph in the DM's guide, and that's it. I'm sorry, rants. I'm ranting. You guys are
This will all be edited out. It's fine.
You know what?
They want you to read the book.
True. You right. But yes, you guys are coming from this side of the city. As you've been following the coast, you can see the guard towers, but you don't see anybody walking the towers or standing post of the guards. You see the dock, and you see these boats, which are actually quite large. giving you an idea of how big this city is. Because despite it looking like it doesn't have many buildings, the buildings are still extremely large. As it goes up the cliffside here, you see that there is a thin river. The only difference this map does not depict accurately, how I have it, is there is a thin, straight river leading through the center of Heart's Faith into the cliffside, going through these archways along the path.
Given our altitude, can we see the merchants area?
Not in vivid detail, no. You guys will be several thousand feet into the air at this point. In fact, you guys will circle the city almost twice before you're at a low enough altitude to descend appropriately, in which case you'll be descending in the Lion's Pride area.
You know what? While we're flying, Crantor is actually going to shoot off a quick prayer to Heracles.
Oh. Okay, is there any definitive things about this prayer, or is it just
Yeah, I'm trying to work up with the wording.
Okay.
You know, godly sendings and all.
Quick question, Advy.
Yo.
How long would this carriage ride take?
This carriage ride would have been roughly a half hour at most.
Okay.
Yeah, it really didn't take all that long because of how close you were to Heart's Faith already. Theoretically, this would have been a day's travel for you guys at most. You know, if you're traveling on foot, but you guys are also being led there by Pegasi, seemingly in haste. So, you guys are actually in what is a very unique situation, because I could not find any official content on how lawbreakers are handled in Celestia. So I had to totally wing this. I'm totally coming up with a lot of the stuff off the top of my head in the last week. It's like, oh man, I was expecting there to be more to this. But
well, like I said to you privately, my only goal is not to end up in a celestial gulag.
What I've learned, something like that, No, let's see, because you guys...
It's entirely possible, I feel.
We can post bail. I have plenty.
And I have contacts.
I will say, everybody roll me a perception check as you guys are descending rapidly into the city.
To be fair, though, I am a tiefling warlock with an archdevil patron who was a former celestial. They might look prejudicedly at me.
Oh, look, it's the worshipper of the traitor.
That is a 7 perception.
Oh, dear God. As for Crantor...
I'm still typing.
I have to make weird
Dice
noises because
go.
Kobold's not here.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. Okay, so only
not-
Deis sees this. Deis, as you guys are descending, for a very brief instant, a creature flies by the carriage on the way up as you guys are going down. But it's almost as if it paused to look in the window as you see what at first looked like a lion with angel wings. Then you can see some more eagle-like features in the wings, and finally, the face jumps out at you. It's a very human face on this lion head. And then it continues on its flight as you guys are descending.
How close was she?
To the others, you notice something fly right by you, but you guys didn't discern any details whatsoever.
How far away would she have been, like in the carriage to the Lamassu?
You never discerned the side of the carriage she'd be on, so I only imagine she'd be on the side of the carriage closest to the drivers.
Probably.
In which case, it would have been to your right. Okay. Not immediately. It would have been roughly 10 feet to your right. Yeah.
She's going to make note of that. Just I wanted to see in case for spell range and stuff. That's all.
Gotcha. Okay, so then yes, you guys ultimately... And the carriage is opened by a few knights, and they part their way so you all can exit comfortably. And you almost immediately hear, like, children giggling in the distance, and they slight chatter in the background.
Crantor does not look at any of the passerby or the people around, just head held high.
Alright, Crantor, yes, I guess.
Soldier.
Alright, then you will be the first to step off?
Yes, I assume so, since he's the biggest.
Yeah, then you will quickly make your way out. You will hop down, because you got mad hops now. Fuck those stairs that they led down from the carriage. You also jumped in, and yeah. And of course, landing on the ground immediately halted the entire block as every single individual in the distance stopped and looked your way for about a moment before the chattering and the children's giggling continued on as they were going on about, hey, come on, we don't got all day.
Cassius will just climb out, following Crantor, hop down,
Yes,
looking semi-serious, but...
down each step like complete Madonna.
Oh my god. I totally see it.
Cass's mind is more on the thought that you-know-who is, or as Cass would say it, Kitty Cat Man, is trying to contact Crantor.
As Cassius is close to him, before the guards get off, Crantor will whisper to Cassius, he's watching everything we do.
That could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Let's not give him too much of a show, shall we?
But Cass will reach up and tap his horns. So is she, mate.
And so is he. He'll point up at the sky.
Cass will just kind of turn and show that his packed weapon still has physical form.
T.S. will turn to the guards. So, darlings, where are we headed? If you say we're in such a rush, let us be off.
Yeah, they'll kind of be leading you towards a very tall but thin building in front of you all that has regal double doors, with statues protruding out of each door of two lion-headed men, eagle-like angel wings, crossing swords in just a manner that has them touch but also allows the doors to open and close properly. Deis, you can tell these are statues of the creatures you just saw.
She'll admire them, take in the level of detail they put in these statues, and put up her cloak. Actually, no, she's not wearing the cloak right now, so she won't have it.
Yeah, that's right, you took it off because she was feeling herself with all her jewelry.
Yep.
As you do.
So, yeah.
Speaking of lions... Oh, go ahead.
She'll saunter in, and she'll actually slide towards Cassius and take his arm, like just say, yeah.
But
Don't mess with
what the hell's going on?
She'll whisper, sometimes showing the world that you don't have fear is the best thing, knowing that he probably feels pretty awkward.
Oh, believe me, there are only a few things in this world I fear, and Rosie ain't anywhere near here.
Oh, God.
I definitely must meet this Rosie.
I cannot wait to.
Oh, man.
So should I pass on to Rosie that you asked details of breeding procedures?
Not procedures, more outcomes.
Or should that
only if you want to get me bashed upside the head with a ladle.
Sounds like a few people I know. I might like her.
Yeah, speaking of lions, did you see the prayer I sent you, Advy?
Yes, I just read that. I was like, because I want that autocorrect to be real.
You know what? Let's make it real. Why not?
I'm still honestly astonished it wasn't intentional, so that, yeah, it's gotta be real now. The universe said it.
The universe always knows best.
And so you all are led into this pristine building that has hallways throughout this extremely large and wide room, full of many different statues, again of celestial creatures, some of which you recognize on the walls of the Silver Swords' tavern, and also in some of the other locations you were at, such as Jortix's Ninth Life. It seems to be a very commonplace to have statues of holy creatures and deities throughout this plane. Honestly, not that out of place. Eventually lead you forward through the long room, eventually cutting through some of the statues towards the end, coming up on the wall where there is a door. Will lead into another hallway. You'll notice down the wall in this very large room, there are many different doors, so it's almost as if the statues were there to guide the knights that are taking you, where they're taking you, which is ultimately a very luminescent room, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. There's another word for it that I'm thinking of, but it's not coming to me. But yes, it's a very luminescent room as you are led down this hallway and walk into a very round room. There's a staircase etched out of gold, leading up 10 feet where you will see a human-faced lion-headed individual whose wings are down at his side, sitting in a throne, flanked on either side by two other creatures, just like this individual. And you'll notice, as the door closes behind you, the room is actually much larger than it seemed, as the door is in the center of this room. You were more or less in a demi-plane of sorts, as behind the space of the door you can see several more of these lion-headed humanoid creatures. Yes, it is a very large room that has a powder blue glow to it. Again, the golden staircase that leads up to a silvery throne, to what you can only imagine is the leader of these creatures. See the Lamasu floating on either side of the one in the throne. See two behind the door where you guys entered, which is now closed and disappeared for a moment. The one in the chair will speak in Celestial, but you somehow will all understand it. Well, mainly, I say that for Cassius. Yeah, it was a bit. Hello, Cassius, Crantor, Deis, he of many titles.
Small smirk.
Crantor will bow respectively.
You notice, Crantor, these creatures are just slightly bigger.
God damn it.
They average out at like 2,500.
How fucking dare they?
Yeah, height-wise, they're about 8 feet on average vertically. So, of course, horizontally to match are much longer than that. And yes, I did puff their weight up from their official weights. I have biological reasons for that I'm not going to just outright exploit. This is 6,000 years after Forgotten Realms.
Well, they
Quick
get
Cassius, ask.
great food.
Quick Cassius.
I mean, out of character, of course, I'm genuinely curious about it.
Cassius raises his hand very slowly.
Please, speak.
Quick question. How did you know my last name? I haven't told no one that. In years, actually.
Barakiel has told me. Everyone roll a history check. Cassius with disadvantage. Deis with advantage. Actually,
What kind of check? What kind of check?
history.
Okay.
Using my real dice this time. Roll 20
Actually-
screw me over.
You know what?
Yeah, I understand trying to use it for convenience because you got a lot going on your computer already. You don't need to go grab dice and stuff, but it's worth the effort. I
know,
feel.
right?
I mean, Roll20 didn't screw over Castor 100% of the time last week, but Roll20 did remind Castor why we don't fuck with their dice system.
Thank God, that's better.
All right, let's see what I can get.
Look at that.
Ooh.
And yes, that's with disadvantage. I rolled a 15 and a 16.
Fucking rad, yo. I'm glad.
Same.
It actually kind of makes sense you would know who this is, Cassius. If nothing else, you'll know who this is in the same way you knew how to speak Infernal. It just came to you. Oh, yeah.
Wait,
We do light that flash at 20. Alright, we got...
Brachiel, Zariel.
And just like
Let's
that,
go
it connects with you, Cassius. Brachiel is the Tome Archon that rules, in fact, the first heaven of Celestia, Lunia. They are the Zariel of Celestia. And it is implied they just innately knew who you were.
I mean, so did Grandma did. Does that make him Grandpa?
Wide eyes from the Lamasu. Oh no, Naleek isn't here. I'm panicking so much
I
right
miss
now.
Naleek.
Oh, man.
Don't worry, I did the same. Cassius just looks at it. Don't worry, I did the same thing on Avernus with Zariel. It's okay.
I feel that doesn't help.
Anyway, don't mean to be disrespectful.
Because you will. You all have attempted several times to state your case. I am here who you shall state it to.
I see, and how shall we address you?
He speaks out. My name is Lebes. Lebes.
Writing that down.
I am Lebes of the Lamasu. I have ruled over Heart's Faith for many millennia, since before Heart's Faith fell back into Celestia. But I do not need the many titles that you...
I am
looking over.
honored that you would know my titles, Ancient Guardian.
I honestly do not. It is Borakio who told me of them. I did not memorize them all, though. They are hardly
That's fair.
relevant. Surely, this individual cared very little after what you did. And the door appears once more behind you, and it opens up, and you will see a very old halfling standing in it, dressed in the exact same clothes that Jortix was dressed in earlier today.
Wait, what?
Well, he kind of steps in momentarily, like, looking up at you, Crantor, with the most obvious fear in his eyes, making sure Deis and Cassius are in between him and you as he makes his way around and then walks forward towards the staircase and bows
Can I
down.
do like a reverse, intimidation? Whatever that would be.
Can I revoke those intimidation checks, please?
Can I roll to make him feel at ease?
You can roll a persuasion with disadvantage.
You know what? I'll do it.
As you're kind of trying to give him an apologetic look. You try making eye contact with him, you get a cold stare and then just looks down and looks away up towards the staircase and falls on all fours and bows, saying in Celestial, "Thank you for gracing me with your presence." And obviously the voice is a little different because very old, but yes, this is very jarring as you're seeing Jortix, but as an old man.
Well, they did say he was in business for over 100 years. That makes a little more sense.
But he looked young when we met him, didn't he?
Yep.
Mm.
You guys would estimate he looked about 50 in halfling terms. So it's well into adulthood. Prime of his life, really. He's trying to look like he was in the prime of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Cassius just looks thoroughly confused by that.
Eventually, Jortix will be told to rise by Lebes, and a podium will rise to the left of the staircase, and Jortix will make his way over to stand behind it. Jortix Glitterdangle, please do speak your case. And Jortix kind of got his arms resting on the podium and they slouched over it a little. I want to start off by apologizing the fate that befell your friends. I truly did not mean that. I I assure you this was a very freak accident. And approaching me a little more cautiously, perhaps a little bit more delicately, could have provided you with more answers. But you see, I don't have many more. I started running this shop over 100 years ago, in my home plane, likely yours too, Rieba, in a country called Liman, and I was soon found by one of the aristocrats, I suppose, of Beautiful, and they eventually invited me to move my town up to Beautiful, and quite frankly, I wouldn't have the supplies to fill, but I had a friend who helped me out in my youth, step in, who was an adventurer who had been acquiring many magical items, and he would identify them and supply them to me to sell. I have no reason to identify my product if I have a lifelong friend doing so. So I need to know where your heads were at. Barged in, you killed my parrot who was specifically given an extended life so he could live with me longer by a beautiful soul in an archmage that visited me long ago. And he's laying this on really thick. He just kind of starts falling into rambles at this point. And yes, essentially what you're gathering is that he's indicating that what you got upset with him for was kind of already a covered basis, and that this kind of falls on the friend a little bit more so than him. And eventually George Hickson starts to break down, and he goes, and he looks over to Deis and he's like, "Do you kill pets often?" After finally bringing it together, this Barrett was my friend for 93 years. He was given eternal youth from a wish spell. As long as I kept him healthy. Oh, I kept him healthy. And it doesn't really seem to be going anywhere, to be honest. As George Hicks kind of rambling on, and you can see, unfazed, is Lebez just sitting there stoically, allowing him to get it all off his chest, looking down on all of you, almost awaiting a response from any of you.
Cass is intentionally just letting him speak.
So is Crantor. But if Lebase is expecting a response, then Crantor will speak up and...
Just giving you the attention.
If I may speak in response to this, to Lebase, he says that. Just like looking for permission. Doesn't want to interrupt the court proceedings. Wait his turn. Don't want to Judge Judy situation, alright?
Oh God, help us.
Yes, no, Lewis gestures with his hand.
He'll walk up in the center and do apologize, Jortix. It was very uncouth of us to do this. We were overcome with emotion for our comrades, and to see it happen right there in front of us and not being able to do anything about it, and were it not for Dreamlake, they would be lost forever. When we came to you, we were overly emotional, and I sincerely apologize for the death of your pet. It was kind of shoots a look at Deus. Not what we came there to do. Came for information, but we used tactics that were far more aggressive than they should have been, and for that I sincerely apologize.
George kind of looks down for a good moment, and Leves will break the silence, speaking out. Tell me, Crantor, were you under any fiendish influence from the deal that you were proposed to, Kosel the Damning?
Do you mean direct, or more of the persuasive variety?
Because... Fair point that I was going to make, yeah.
Any fiendish influence of any sort?
We had dealings with Kosel the Damning in our last mission in Avernus.
Spiritual influence. Mental influence. Not emotional influence.
Ah, fair. Okay. Good distinction to make. As far as I could tell, no. But I will not discount the possibility because it happened very shortly before all this happened. Like moments before we walked into the store. And it is possible. And if so, I sincerely apologize for my corruption, as it was not intentional.
The best will react facially. He'll close his eyes and slightly tilt his head down. You are not under the influence of any fiendish activity whatsoever. You behaved entirely of your own volition. It seems that you are not entirely sure of that. It seems you lack the self-control that your very deity put the faith in you to have. You have prayed to your god. Your god has spoken to Brachiel. Brachiel has spoken to me. Associating this with the fact that you have inadvertently led a trail from Kosil, the Damning, to Celestia despite previous efforts to cast him from this plane permanently, as well as the spiritual ties to the Lord of the First Hell. You and your comrades are hereby banished from Celestia. You will be given free rein to leave of your own volition, but you will have the remaining day to do so before you will be forcibly removed. And Jortix, like, his eyes kind of like fall out wide, and he like slowly looks up to you guys and then slowly pans up to Lebes like he didn't know what he wanted out of this, but this wasn't it.
Permission to speak freely.
I do not control the words that you speak.
To put it fairly, this is a room that commands your respect.
Yes, and if I did not want you to speak, I would silence you. There is no such need. Here, in Celestia, there are no locks on the doors, there are no prisons, because there is an innate trust to those here on the plane, for those who are not trustworthy are simply not allowed. Very few instances involve forced removal. And quite frankly, I don't see it coming to that with you all. You have an innate nobility, and make no mistake, this banishment is nowhere near permanent, but clearly you all have much growth to experience before you can truly walk amongst the heavens as one of its own.
Crantor will bow his head in a bit of shame. Thank you for your wise judgment. I will strive to be a more worthy representative of Celestia in the future. I will bow his head and walk back.
May you master your temperament and atone for your sins.
May I have a moment to speak, Lord Protector?
Well, I still haven't had mine. I was just trying to show this man respect. I feel like I'm being talked over.
Add another sin on the Crantor sins count.
Well, it is true that I happen to descend from the Dark Lady, as it were, and that I am a warlock that gets his power from her. I want it to be said that we did just return from that first layer of hell. The two friends that were banished were allies of ours. My life would probably be forfeit if not for either of them. One of them for certain. So yes, I did act in emotion. Tried to be tempered, didn't want to kill anybody, least of all a pet. I have one of my own. But my friends do mean quite the world to me. With that in mind, I do apologize if I caused any undue stress.
There is much history you are very ignorant to when it comes to the hells and the heavens.
Oh, believe me, I only just found out what I was. What was it? A couple weeks ago?
And how much study have you put into it?
I haven't had a lot of time, mate.
I suggest you make time. Saying that has existed for eons. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it.
And then what would you suggest I do? Learn of my heritage? Zariel's history?
I will offer you no more guidance. He closes his eyes. Deus, final Empress of Rieba, please, speak your piece.
Thank you. I accept your judgment, and I accept that I erred in judgment in reaction, but I also would like to give a warning. As you most likely know from Barakel, I am one of the lady's seers. Things are moving. There are things that search for her stones. One resides within your lands. I would recommend seeking it and protecting it. There are those who would do harm to those who hold it. And I would ask for an investigation to see if there have been any harmed by the twist of fate that has happened, to see if there have been any items that have been issued in mistrust or ignorance, though the man we have wronged, the fact that he trusted one with such implicity without any knowledge. There could have been many instances and yet not known to this plane. I would hope that if there have been others. And she'll fold her back.
His eyes will open for a moment and nod at you. Close once again. As the door opens, all to take your leave. As the other Lamasu have now bowed their heads and turned away. You are given no escort, but you do remember your way back through this building to the outskirts of the streets, where once again, strangely enough here, that bustling laughter of children and chatter of people amongst the streets. And you all know that there is a ferry here for you all to catch to Excelsior. And you were given till the end of the day to leave Celestia. So, 2 and 2.
Well, that could have been worse.
Could have been better.
Could have been a lot better.
What time of day would it be? Because we were on a time limit.
Roll a nature check.
Oh god, one thing I'm probably not trained in.
It is
You know what? Can I
perpetual.
assist with that? With
It's
my
perpetual
Outlander
night.
background?
I can say you can roll on your own with advantage.
All right, sure, why not?
I would just say it'd be better than just assisting.
Okay.
Oh, it's just like, by the end of the day, it's always freaking night.
Yep.
There we go. There we go.
Nice.
That's much more like it. Crantor, this is roughly early afternoon. You guys left the tavern pretty early in the morning because you guys were always early birds and you guys weren't in the tavern much before you went out shopping, and you guys were barely shopping an hour before all the shit went down. So yeah, it's roughly like early mid-afternoon. You guys would probably have a good, 4 to 6 hours before you'd really be pushing it.
Okay. In the sending that I got from Okiro, did I get a location?
No, she said heart's faith.
Oh boy, okay. Is there like any of the Asmar guard?
I will say,
And put it
check
back.
your inventory. Remember what you got.
Oh, okay. Well.
I do remember discussing this with you in DMs
Yeah,
offhanded.
you're right. I will use the crystal ball then.
I figured you were saving it. I should have mentioned it last session because you would have used it.
I legitimately did not see it.
No, it wasn't in there last session. But I realized that's probably why you didn't bring it up because it wasn't in there. But yeah, you have it now. It is 3.
Good. Well, then, okay, he's going to shuffle off the main drag there a bit and then just say, excuse me, I'll be right back. And then just pull out the crystal ball and
You just kind
shoot
of
off a
start
quick-
wandering down the street a little away from everyone.
just I shuffle into an alley that'll fit me if there's any.
There's not really much alleys. The buildings, let's put this perspective. The walls are roughly 60 feet tall.
Mhm.
So if you were to put those buildings, that means those buildings on average are 3 to 4 stories high, which means these gaps visually on the map are pretty wide apart. But yeah, you can kind of step off of the path onto the side of a building or something. You're not particularly hidden, but you're not right next to everyone.
You know what? Instead of that, he's going to go back to the group and say, you know what? Let's get some lunch before we go. How about that? And look for a restaurant.
Oh, thank goodness.
Crantor, you could probably, Diaz probably would too, but wouldn't know why. But Cassius does not look happy right now.
Can she incite him?
In Crantor?
Are you trying to hide how you're feeling?
Oh no, he's definitely wearing the fact that he's not happy on his sleeve.
All right, then no check needed. Oh, well.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, he's very visibly frustrated now. Just thinking about multiple things. Not just what was said in there, but more with himself. And he kind of just feels like he's let somebody down.
Crantor can definitely relate to that.
Oh, boys.
Completely lost without Naleek and Arudim.
It really is just you had to lose them both at once, too. It's just...
I got some thinking to do, mate. I'll be back in a bit.
Perhaps we should make a
he says,
meeting place first?
meet by the docks in about 3 hours.
Very well.
And Cass will walk off and we'll look for a city guard, somebody that just kind of knows the area.
Alright, so you guys are essentially at this crossroads right here. That's where this was the building you were in. I'm just making sure I was on the right. Yeah, exactly it. So I imagine you probably started wandering off in this direction or something like that. You can actually see down the way there is a bridge that leads over a little small river and an archway that actually spans over the top of the bridge.
Well, we don't want to be too far away from the ferry, I don't think, just in case things do get harsh as we leave, shall we say?
Perhaps it would be good. There will be plenty of places to find. I believe you were looking for armor?
My taste for shopping is kind of gone for the day. When we get to Sigil, there is a few things I'm looking for, but... Sigil, sorry.
No. Well, you might want to pronounce it. It's really a confusing thing. Sigil is the actual correct pronunciation, but that also indicates when you pronounce it like that you truly know what you're talking about when it comes to Sigil. When you mispronounce it, you actually sound a little ignorant, and that could be to your benefit outside of Sigil.
Sure, why not?
Basically, whether you're a tourist or return shopper.
Yeah, tourists are a local.
No worries there. I know I've been to Sigil once. Been here a couple times. Not surprised I got kicked out this time. Still, the fact that I found that stone here means things are moving interestingly. Probably best to find somewhere.
If you need to go back and get that before we go, I
Oh.
will not stop you.
I thought about it, but it would probably be better if the authorities here take care of it than me. I believe they can provide better protection for it, given we're heading where we're going.
He'll just nod. Would you mind letting Arudim and Naleek know what happened here?
Oh,
With the
yes,
sending.
of course. Which one should I contact? I have plenty of spells. Let's see what I got.
Naleek first.
Of course. Let's see. Because I actually kept track of what spells I used last time. Sending. She has 2 left, so she can actually send a message to each.
Perfect.
If you don't mind doing a word count for me. Hello, Naleek. We made it to Heart's Faith. We shall continue to Sigil. Kind of kicked out. Only temporary.
You're past 25. 25 was temporary, was 25.
Okay.
Or temporary was 20. 20.
Gotcha.
And almost immediately you just get, huh, what? Shit. Okay, I'm on Celestia. Okay, I made it. I guess I was unconscious. I must have got hit. Where is Arudim? He's not with me. That was the whole sending response that you got. And then almost immediately afterwards, you get to, I want to say immediately, probably a minute or two afterwards, you get another one from me.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I literally was woken up by your last sending. If you guys are already in Heart's Faith, continue on to Sigil. I'm not sure where on Lunia I am.
Well, good news. Naleek has survived. He's on Celestia, but not sure where he's at. He says to continue on our journey, though him and Arudim have been separated. Is that a good thing for them?
That's a horrible thing for them. Both of them.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Alright, let's try our half-orc friend. And she'll cast her last level 3 spell for today. Arudim made it to Heart's Faith. Naleek also arrived, separated from us. We are temporary exiled, end of day, continuing to Sigil, meet you in Excelsior, and that's where she'll end it.
Will receive no response.
That's
You waited
quite
out.
odd.
No response?
She wouldn't wait long.
Yeah.
Well, that could be either good news or bad news. No response from him.
I don't believe that's good news.
He could also be unconscious. I apparently woke up Naleek, so...
Okay.
But he seems very confusing, Arudim. I've never encountered someone like him.
I don't think there is anyone else like him.
Anyways, there's very likely chance that he will find his way if they did get to the Astral Sea and were not separated too quickly. There's a good chance he will find his way here, if but a bit of delay, and I'm sure we've caused enough of a disturbance for people to spread a few words around.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have too hard of a time hearing about this.
Yeah, you're most likely right.
So, let us find somewhere to sit down, have a nice cup of tea, and I would like to know, why are you heading to Sigil?
Well, we are trying to meet with someone called the All-Knowing.
Interesting. DM, would she know about that?
Roll me a history check.
Come on, roll 20.
Go before. You have been to Sigil before, so. It sounds familiar to you, but it's not right. It's not quite ringing a bell. It sounds very vague, so you're not quite sure where you're pinpointing where you've heard it.
I've heard of it before, but I'm not sure where.
It's a being, as far as I know. A mind flayer, I believe.
Oh. Well, that's fascinating. I don't think I've met one of those. Well, I've probably killed a few of them, but not really met one.
And what's the name of the restaurant that we see? The first one we can go to, just so I know for the sending.
I want to say it would probably just be in the Citizens. Never mind. I was gonna say the Citizens Rest because it's a location, but it's not actually. I'll just come up with
The White Nimbus. How about that?
the White
very
Nimbus.
nice.
You know what? Sure. Because I honestly didn't think about you guys stopping in the tavern. So yeah, the White Nimbus. It'll actually be framed by a line of bushes and other foliage around the building that is white leaf, almost to resemble cloud.
That's the sending he's gonna send to her. I guess.
Oh man. Oh god.
I have just out of character sneaking suspicions about a couple things about how this is gonna go. But
So, like, double check on it.
Oh, good.
It always is.
Yeah, while they're waiting, she would definitely nonchalantly be chatting with Crantor about places she's been seen, the people she knows, the places she's been kicked out of.
Crantor will likewise be chatting about the different planes he has seen and canon and his adventures and leading the mythos, being exiled, fighting a dragon, getting his people back.
Does he ever mention the pink-haired individual?
He does.
Are you actually inside the tavern, or are you actually just standing outside of it using it?
At this point, we'd probably have been seated and getting like some light lattes or something.
They give you one of the corner tables, so that way they can move some of the chairs and allow you to just seat yourself comfortably. They weren't ready to accommodate you, but as you enter, they're mostly humans, with a few other creatures such as halflings and dwarves, the occasional dragonborn or fearbolg. There will be human servers who will immediately greet you with extremely cheery attitudes, like, "Oh, welcome to the White Nimbus! Oh, you all look like such wondrous travelers! Oh my goodness, please, here, come, we'll bring you over here, give you a lot of room in the corner here." It's just kind of like this.
Oh, okay.
She will drop 3 platinums for these nice people.
Meanwhile, Crantor is not flattered.
Out of character, I know service. And this is like, you fucking bitches are making us do extra work. I know that voice. I know that wording.
Damn! It's funny because Astra knows it more so than Crantor. Crantor just senses the tone. He's like, that's our problem.
Yeah.
Wanting the attention.
We will most likely be joined by someone who is also of my size. So, he'll warn Deis. So, before all this happened, I just recently got sending, and I reached out to my estranged mate, and she is also on Celestia, and
You hear heavy galloping.
So I'm guessing she burst into the tavern where we're at.
Here's a very heavy, large galloping as the citizens kind of like step back off the path, watching this light brown Gallataur with dark, flowing hair and a braid down the side, with slightly smaller horns than Crantor, but slightly bent forward, almost reminiscent of like a horned devil, for example, but still looking very majestic in her very long shaman garb that has beads adorned, draping from it on several sides with several holy symbols, holding 2 staffs, one that it looks like a wooden martial arts staff and another one that seems to look metallic. And right as they come galloping up towards Crantor, they skid on the ground, catching themselves on Crantor, hugging him, and just lay on a big old smooch right in front of Deis. Without a second thought. Skirting right through the middle of the dining room, catching everybody's attention. He's telling me that it was just a joke. You can't possibly be exiled to Castor.
Unfortunately, I have been exiled from Celestia due to a rather violent misunderstanding. However, in better news, I am not exiled from our clan any longer. I've been restored to the rightful leadership position, so that's good. Right, honey?
That is wonderful, but you're not with them now. And she looks over at Deis, and she looks, who is this?
This is my associate Deis. We just met. I have become something of a adventurer, mercenary in my time.
The final empress of Rieba.
Oh. She looks over to Crantor. Ooh, I like her. She knows me.
She's the beauty and the brains, yes.
Okiro kind of sits silent for a moment, kind of just looking at Deis, and then look down and look up at you. Not like a jealous look or anything. That's not even a thought that's crossing her mind. It's more so she's like trying to process.
She knows that Deis isn't my type.
Yeah, duh. Look at her. This is just not. Look at how much metal she's wearing.
Snakes and horses and metal, exactly. They're all in metal.
It's funny.
He'll even look at her staff and like,
I do not favor it, but it has become a necessity. I was in the lower planes.
I just came from the hells.
It's unfortunate. We may have missed each other.
We're here now, and that's all that matters.
And she smiles at that, which is very rare because she's always been a very stoic individual, for the most part. At least she's been very reserved, I should say. At least since the incident with her other.
The other?
No, the curse.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah.
Yes. Ever since he essentially passed on to her, she's been very stoic individual, for the most part. That's why she kind of like self-exiled from the clan. is why she was away from it for so long. I say that much because that's kind of the general impression by the tribe itself.
Yeah.
Finishing your tea, she'll kind of straighten up. I see you two have some catching up to do. I'll see if I can find a ride. I will meet you at the docks.
Thank you.
And she will literally, big sway of the hips, just out the door.
Oh, hero is just size.
He'll just drop a couple platinum on the table just to pay whatever bill they had.
Oh, I see you're adorning metal. And she smirks.
I carry it as currency because they don't accept our beads here. Unfortunate. So uncivilized.
Yes, cities, a different plane of existence in their own right. Guy's making very bad joke.
Right?
She's trying to socialize and like that's just not a thing she can do. You could tell she's not as like level-headed as you remember her being last. Let's go ahead and roll an insight check.
I will happily do that. Ooh, hell yeah.
Oh, she is very flustered. She is extremely giddy to see you, and you are kind of a complete breath of fresh air to her in the sense that you're probably the first friendly face that she's recognized in her journey in a long time, and of all people for it to be. In short, absence made the heart grow fonder.
The feeling is most certainly shared by Crantor. He's, out of all the shit that has gone down today, this is the best thing that's happened to him in months. And he'll regale her with all the stories of what happened in Mindafall, and then how he left with Canon, and then Xeris with Naleek, and then his adventures with Canon after, and then Celestia, and then his first time into the Hells, everything in between.
Yeah.
Talking her ear off.
Her most intense reactions would be at the sound of Canon once she realized that it was DK's son. At the trip of the Abyss, the trip to
Oh yeah, I fought him
Hells.
the first time I met him. I just straight up wailed on him.
Want to roll a deception check for that?
You know, I did, alright? I fought him well.
Did you fight Cran? Oh, you know what? That's right! Oh my god, you had this.
As
You
soon
had the
as
duel!
I met him.
I feel so bad because that was so epic in its own way, because it was just like, honestly, I gotta appreciate Crantor. He jobbed out for that son of a bitch.
Absolutely.
And he made him look like $1 million. That's what, if it wasn't for that duel, I don't think everyone would have taken him as seriously as they did. So you know what? It's almost 2 years late, but thank you, Astro, for doing that.
For setting up the entire plot of 2 campaigns.
No, not I wouldn't go that. Whoa,
Yes.
hold up, bud, hold up. Don't break your back now.
Why? I'm carrying everything else. Might as well.
You're gonna take that, guys?
I'm
Astro's
kidding.
getting main protag syndrome.
No. He's not main protagonist.
All right, so rocks fall, Okiro and Crantor die. Okay, so this is now a
A
two-person
real pit
campaign.
opens up in the middle of the street, and Okiro just falls in.
No, but speaking of this, you were regaling her. We were going to go over because I legitimately was not prepared for her to be entering in this session. Wow, things went by a lot quick. This is one of those rare sessions that things go by so quickly when it normally goes by slower than anticipated. It's like almost like the campaign's trying to catch up with itself or something.
Right.
Yeah, she's as you regale the stories, we can just what is spoken about. We're going to cut back over to Deis, who's searching out for Cassius. Now, as Cassius, I believe you said you just kind of went on throughout the streets, correct?
Well, he had a plan.
Please do this shit. Pretty much, we'll go back a little bit to the point where you left off from the group.
Cass he'll look for a guard to kind of ask for directions.
Oh man, that's perfect, because there would have been a guard right at this crossroads, so you would have actually walked over by the white nimbus before anyone else to ask this guard. He's much more. His armor is much lighter than the knights in Beautisol. Funny enough, despite this being quote unquote capital of the layer. Hey there, how can I help you? He's kind of just looking you up and down momentarily, like giving you that's an adventurer look, all right, seeing the weapons and stuff.
Hey mate, it's gonna sound like a really odd question given where we're at, but there happened to be like a church or anything around here?
Yeah, actually. There actually is right behind us. We got a minor church here for Apellion. Down the way over there, you see that one? That's a church for Pan, the god of nature itself. You know what? It's probably just easier. You got a specific deity in mind.
Not much for the way of gods, but if I wanted to offer a prayer to lost family members, where would I go?
Oh, wow. That I said it in the character voice, but that's me saying that because you just had make me had to go look at my pantheon. What would be the appropriate god for this?
Demeter would probably be a good one.
Is that going by the lore in Rieba, or is that just going by general?
General Greek lore. Her daughter was stolen.
This is perfect. Oh, never mind. I was looking at the wrong guy. Never mind. Not quite as perfect as I was going for, but close enough. You'll be pointed out to the clergy of Hestia. Pointed out, going just down the way a couple of roads. It'll be closest to the wall, isolated by itself, right next to Glory's Way.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. And Cass will duck his way through whatever crowd there happens to be, doing what he can to kind of keep himself unseen and keeping a low profile as he makes his way there. And when he gets there, go ahead.
I'll just say that trying to be a little less noticeable will have the opposite effect, as everyone kind of be like wondering why you're trying to not be seen. But they won't really think too much of it. They're just kind of passing by.
Yeah, he's definitely not making eye contact with anybody.
You eventually make your way to this church. A large engraving of a hearth rests atop building where there's 20-foot doors. Seem to be made out of a very fine wood that you almost couldn't make out as wooded initially because it has a shine to it from the Lunia in the sky.
Cass will very, almost hesitantly walk in.
The door is surprisingly easy to open and push through.
He'll look around to see if there's anybody in here.
Entering immediately, you're going to have a few individuals sitting crisscross against the wall that the doors lay on. You won't have noticed them until you'll have walked significantly in or closed the doors. They'll kind of just be sitting there in meditation in their very clerical garb.
If no one approaches him, he'll find some place. I'm assuming there might be like a big altar somewhere in this place.
Yes. You'll notice actually this building is surprisingly empty, aside from those four clerics meditating against the wall as you enter. And they're a very wide and long hall that have large pillars framing the pathway on either side, in between the wall and the center walk. It leads up to really a very wide spiral staircase. It doesn't wind too much. It looks like pretty much above where you're standing now will be the entrance to the next floor. There's just like a full 360 go around.
Yeah. Cass will walk up close to the altar, keeping about a respectable distance from it, but at the same time close enough so that he can kneel in respect. He will very slowly and in as a non-threatening way as he can, will pull his brother's sword off his back. He'll put it tip down, rest his head against the hilt, and he'll begin to pray. Sorry, brother. Earlier today I acted in emotion, not rationale. As a result, I have been exiled from a place that, well, to be perfectly honest, I think you'd love it here. I've brought shame to myself. And honestly, if Belle saw me here, she'd definitely be kicking my ass. And he'll just kind of hold that position for a little while, reflecting.
You will be left alone in your silence as this goes on. No one interrupts you. It almost seems like time has come to a standstill.
No, that was me doing a quick personal roll and more of a composure check for himself. And thinking about it, a single tear will roll down the side of his cheek.
It'll be at this time, Deis, I wanted to ask how you intended on finding Cassius, or if you even intended to find him.
Yes, she definitely intended to find him. She will actually do the same thing and find a guard and sweet talk him that, yeah, she's looking for her tiefling friend, gives a description, says that he has much on his mind, and she wishes to console him as a professional cleric on spiritual matters. She's laying it on thick.
Wait, I'm sorry, you're saying all this to the guard? Wow, you went that way, to the temple of Hestia. You have good luck with that. Just got that look on his face like, wow, that was more than I bargained for waking up today.
Thank you. And she'll cup his hands and literally drop a silver as my thanks.
You don't have any silver.
Or that's platinum.
Okay.
She'll literally drop a platinum in his hand as my thanks to you.
You're welcome, miss. And he'll kind of just about his business. Essentially, the dialogue box will end after clicking on this NPC, but go back to their animation.
So yeah, she will definitely make her way to the Temple of Celestia, and while she's making her way, he gave me what temple, right?
Yeah, he pointed down the way,
Okay.
isolated.
In that case, may I roll a religion check to enter the temple with respect, since she is a cleric of other deities?
First things first, I will say roll a religion check to know what's up with this guy. Know if that would really work out for you. Well, for example, you know this much. Hestia's faith teaches simple virtues, home and family. So, your history with home and family, innately walking in here is not going to do what you're trying to do. So you might as well just go for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright, so she'll make her way to the Temple of Hestia. Anyone she passes, she will nod and respectfully acknowledge them and make her way in.
Yes, you slither in, and of course you come in through these large double doors. And immediately you see the pillars framing in between the wall and the center carpet that leads you to the staircase. A room illuminated by many different torches ablaze. Despite the building being made of a very refined and shiny wood, it is not being caught ablaze. You see the 4 clerics sitting against the wall that the door you entered in rests on. And they do not acknowledge you, of course. At this point, you'd be able to have made your way up the stairs to the very same location that Cassius is in.
She will lower herself because she can't really kneel, but just be like at head level to him.
He doesn't acknowledge anyone's presence around him.
Mm-hmm. If it means anything, things of fate sometimes can be difficult, but if learning what he must learn was easy, anyone could do it. The ties of fate of you and your companions is not so easily lost. It would offer my centuries of wisdom, my centuries of travel. Did you need of it?
He raises his head, takes one big deep breath, and he'll turn and very, very calmly, he'll just say, Asnode, what happened there, the exile, the gods, all of it. I reacted emotionally, not rationally. Me of all people, I should have been the first to go to the gods. My older brother was a city guard, for crying out loud. He was drafted into the military and died. This is his sword that I carry. By rights, I should have gone to the gods first. If anything, I feel like I let down his memory. Nobody's fault but mine own.
Then it is also just up to you to reclaim that fault and build upon it. You have misstepped but a single step. You have your whole life to rebuild and regain your footing. I do not believe you have dishonored yourself other than a mere misstep. No one's blood was shed. The ties of fate still move. And Naleek has made it to Celestia here. When you left Diacast Ascending, he will make his way to Sigil like us. Artem did not respond though. He could be out of distance or the sending spell might have failed. They're not perfect across planes.
In that time will tell.
He seems an unusual fellow. From what Crantor told me while we were having lunch, he's quite the interesting fellow.
If there's one thing I know about Arudim, it's that he's resourceful. He'll find a way. He always does.
Well,
I have seen that man take a fireball directly from Zariel.
She does throw a good fastball.
You say that, and the flames around you flare up, not aggressively, but almost at the sound of that, like in celebratory fashion almost.
They just kind of flicker like, yeah, I did that. Can Cassius roll insight on that?
The
What,
flames?
the candles?
Yeah.
Sure.
Nope. That's a 7.
Yeah, no, you did. That was all you, man. It just sounded so badass. Hestia had to be like, nice.
Yeah, Arudim is a badass.
I have a question for you, Cassius.
Yeah?
And she'll sit up a little bit and just kind of rearrange her tail so she can sit. What do you know of the nature of prophecies?
Never believed in him.
Well, in my journeys, or prophecies, and she'll cup her hand. She will use prestidigitation to gather the smoke from the candles.
There is no smoke, and there aren't candles. They are very large torches or pots of fire being held up by various different statues.
Okay. She will condense anything she can from like natural water and just kind of make it into mist in her hands.
Oh, like gathering from the moisture in the air or something?
Yeah, she's just trying to make an example of what steam, so she has a kind of a visual.
Gotcha.
Even if it's like actual candle smoke or something like that from the area, just so that you can see it's a smoke object. Prophecies, in a way, are like steam. They flow, they are created naturally, even artificially, and yet they can be held, even touched, and yet they have no material essence to them, and yet so many would try to grasp them in their hands to control their own fate, only to have it slip through their fingers. But then there are those who would contain it. And she's moving her hands this entire time, like forming. There are those who would hold it, contain it, whether by force or even other means, to prevent it from happening, to control the outcome. And yet, prophecy is still there, reveal itself with the catastrophic means. Ion is guiding me, and I feel prophecy is in play, though it's not my place to know what the prophecy truly is. That is why I'm heading to Sigil to speak with a colleague. I believe it involves the stones of Ion.
Well, then let me ask you this. What would you ask of your prophecy if I told you that I am a tiefling? I am born of Zariel's blood. When I began my search for my lost sister, I got too close for the likes of some, and they struck me down. I nearly died. And were it not for Zariel herself stepping in to save my life, I probably would have. Since that day, I've been a warlock for her, and when I finally found out what the name to this power was the same day I was being asked to travel to her own plane to rescue a tiefling child, much like myself. That's what we did on Avernus.
See?
And then, only to find out that the sister I've been looking for this whole time is but 2 layers deeper.
I see. And you are unable to get to the layers, or you seek power to protect her?
Well, we're going to Sigil so that I can get information. I can find out exactly where she is.
Knowledge is power, especially in the hells.
You can say that again. Money means nothing to the people that have the right secrets.
That is true. That is very true. But yes.
I actually intended to give up a 9,000 platinum payday just for information on my sister.
Your bond with her must be very strong.
Lost my mother when I was born. So her and my brother, the owner of this, and he holds up his sword. They're the only family I've got. That and Rosie.
DM, would DS recognize any symbols upon the sword?
Yes, you will notice the subtle engraving of the Ragnrath flag at the very base of the hilt, like the bottom part of the hilt that you plant your palm against. But other than that, it's more or less a very traditional military longsword material plane. It looks like it's of dwarven craft, and at close examination, it's a little worn down, but it very clearly is a sturdy blade meant to last for a long time.
I see. So you have a way. Tell me, have you tried scrying, given that you share both blood and a connection to her?
I have not. My power tends to be more of impulse. I don't really control what I know.
I see. In that case, while we set off tomorrow, I will make sure that I commune for you. We can see what we can learn about her locations and her condition of her whereabouts.
Just to clarify, you'd have to leave tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh no, that's what I'm saying. When
you wake
get
up
to
tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, she'll be setting for commune and scrying and possibly legend lore. I'll double check the spells, but just kind of confirming that, yeah, she's on his side. She will help.
All I know is that she's in the third layer of hell. I intend to find out where, and I intend to save her. But, in the more immediate, when I left, you was with Crantor. What happened to the lad?
Yes. Apparently his wife's here, and I figured they needed a bit of a quiet moment.
Cassius's eyes will get very, very wide. I'm sorry, his what?
I know. Apparently he has a wife. Charming lady. She actually knew who I was. Shall we go surprise them?
Well, let's let them have their reunion. After all, we've got a few hours.
That is true, and I'm just double checking. Does scrying not work on our same plane, Advy? My eyes are.
Scrying?
Yeah, same plane. So you know, scrying would not work.
Really, I swore it was other planner.
Nope. But the community, I will get a couple questions on yes or no or unclear. Here, I'll click the spell.
Well,
that way you have time to figure out what she can learn from it.
In the meantime, Deis, there's a couple things I'd like to pick up while we're here, if possible.
Absolutely. What do we need?
Well, first off, he reaches into his pocket, pulls out the rings. I'd still like to get these identified. I don't want to lose any fingers.
Yes, that's probably a good idea.
And truth be told, we should probably get Crantor's identified as well, if he got any.
Do you remember Jortix essentially told you in his rambling spiel that his friend identified everything and that this whole bag of devouring thing is a freak accident? Which was also corroborated.
Does not mean Cassius trusts it, though.
Yeah, neither does.
I keep forgetting
Yes.
how paranoid the characters legitimately are. And it's
especially since his identifications usually is by his friend, and they don't know how many times this might have happened somewhere else. Might not have happened here, but it could definitely have happened somewhere else.
So,
yes,
he will
find a wizard.
And while we're there, I could probably do with a few things. I've been looking for a way to, well, we'll see when we get there.
Don't forget, I have some rings that I also have to double check looking at the ring of telekinesis now. Like, shouldn't have put that on now. This one seems to work normally.
And Cass will stand up. He's going to kind of look around to make sure there's nobody in a good 5-foot range. Give the sort of slash, flip it, and with a flourish, put it back on his back. He'll turn back to the altar, tip his head down. I'll do better to walk in your footsteps, brother.
The flames will whiten ever so slightly. Say that. Let's make your way out of this very lit building, for lack of better terms, and back onto the road. Do you guys head down to the docks?
Cass is going to look for a wizard or somebody that is a purveyor of low-level magical goods.
You'll actually just be passing through the mission here, and you'll see a few, booths out here and there. Some of them more lax than others, where there's a few, I wouldn't say desperate, but very hasty individuals to make a purchase. And most of the signs will read in Celestial, and
I can't make heads or tails of what any of them say.
yeah,
She would look for the first one that says anything of identification, magics.
towards the coast, you'll have found Jackson's identification store. I don't know, it's like some generic Rick and Morty name. You'll approach, just be like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll identify. It's just 100 gold
Per item or as
for
per
casting."
service?
Cass he won't even argue with it. He'll set his 2 rings on the counter, as well as 20 platinum.
All right, and boop. And yeah, sure enough, you're confirmed. There's a ring of spell storing and a ring of swimming.
So that would be 30 platinum she drops on.
And you're absolutely sure I put these on, I'm not going to lose any fingers.
Yes, unless it's too tight and cuts off blood circulation, then you may have to.
You know what? That's a fair point. I'm going to give you that one. I like that. By the way, while you identify the ladies' stuff here, I got a question for you. Do you know particularly reagents for low-level wizard spells?
I'm sorry?
Do you know where I might be able to find stuff to, like, summon a familiar?
That would probably be around the corner or something like that.
I like you, mate. You're nice. And I'll flip him another platinum just because.
Yeah, I'll catch it. Thank you much. And,
Anything unscrupulous about the Ring of Evasion, Ring of Warmth, and Bracers of Haste?
Nope, they all are indeed those items.
Perfect. I will highlight them as they are all good.
Nice, you have items identified, and I imagine just as you guys are going to turn the other direction to continue looking through the merchant's direction, you're going to see not one, but two Gallataur come around the corner as you'll see Crantor talking with the Gallataur slightly shorter than him, like 6 inches or so vertically, and a little bit slimmer in appearance. He will be adorned in a very shaman-like garb with beads lining it, and he'll have very slightly poignant horns. They're slightly shorter than his, softer facial features as well, and a light brown fur as opposed to the black fur that Crantor has. A braid down her side of otherwise very long hair. As you see around the corner, you catch eye of this Gallataur for the first time, and that's where we'll end the session.
Perfect. It was very fun, guys.
Zealous, it's always a blast.
Absolutely love you, man.
Glad you're able to have some in-character moment connecting with some of the party.
Mm-hmm.
And now without Arudim to be like, ew, rich person, Cassius can connect and be like, see, she ain't so bad.
Yeah, she shot a bird.
Coincidentally, I thought it was hilarious that Kobold thought it was me just because of the word Eldritch Blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do apologize to you guys and the audience for this very clunky session. Admittedly, it was not a very prepared one. There are certain points where I was very much flying by the seat of my pants.
They can just blame me.
No. It
It
honestly
was very open-ended.
No, that's exactly it. There's so many different things that gotta happen. I knew that, don't get me wrong, the banishment thing, that was probably one of the most likely things to happen, because I'm like, alright, you guys could have some good words to really help out, but most likely you guys are this is gonna be the position you're put in based on the actions on your circumstances. You know, like, if you guys didn't have godly ties and you did that, probably none of this would have happened. But the fact that this happened, and then Crantor literally prayed to the god and be like, yo, could like cut me some slack? It was like, this is where it was almost like we had to stop being a helicopter god.
Yeah, I get it. I'm like, this is all I can think of to do. So I'm like, all right, let's try it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I hate to say it, but in hindsight, that probably would have been better off not doing, because like at that point, it was mostly a foregone conclusion. You know? And especially when it came to, because that's the thing, the big takeaway from that was Crantor acting of his own volition. And the thing about what really helped you is that you didn't try, like you were unsure about it genuinely, but you didn't try passing it off. You didn't try blaming it on like infernal influence. It's very obvious Levis already knew the answer to that question when he asked you it, because Brachiel knew it, and Brachiel told him. Essentially, Brachiel judged you all and then passed on those judgments to Levis to make the call. So you have a good night, Zelos.
Good night, guys.
See you, Zealous.
Later, Zealous.
Yes, it was a very open-ended, clunky session. It was like, I will say this: I was trying to kind of rush us to the ferry, because I wanted to already have you guys in Excelsior, because now we're gonna pick up next session. I initially wanted to pick up where Arudim's Venos and get him caught up to everybody, but now it's more so going to be getting you guys on your trail, and then like pretty much determining where you are by the time Arudim comes to where he's at. But,
I have a feeling we'll make it work.
Oh no, you guys already did. You guys are, like I said earlier today, I knew it was going to be the case. You guys were the saving grace of the session. The character moments really made it, because I didn't have much to bring to the table as the DM. So I low-key was relying on that, and I'm not going to make a habit of that just because it puts excess pressure on you guys, but yeah, just as Castor said.
You kidding me? You couldn't stop us from doing that if you wanted to.
Right, I didn't feel any pressure at all, honestly. You just like let the reins go and like, hey, do what you gotta do, guys. It was great.
There's
honestly.
a reason that the mission to Avernus went from I'm planning this for 4 sessions to what, 9?
Right.
Yeah, and this whole Celestia, you guys, just like you guys were in Rieba in and out for 1 session, that was the plan for Celestia. You guys were just supposed to come in the Silver Swords Taverns. Oh, that's cool. Let's meet Deis. All right, let's go catch that ferry now. Here we are 3 sessions later. Hey, that ferry. We'll get to it. You guys have been exiled, and we'll get to it. I can't wait to get to Sigil. I've been honestly, this whole little Celestia arc has been a blessing in disguise because I was woefully underprepared for Sigil. Yeah, had you guys been there 2 sessions ago as initially planned, it would have been a very underwhelming experience.
Well, I'm glad we get to see it in its full majesty then.
Yes. Kind of trial running it, and Sigil's there's a lot to it. That's why I was mentioning earlier. I've been studying 2E and 3E content a lot because that's where a lot of the Outer Planes stuff is anyway. So I pretty much just have to take that and then just accelerate it through time. All right, what general things would have happened with this and that? Maybe a few people would have changed, leadership roles, this and that. Yeah, it's definitely a process, but it's one that I love.
Absolutely.
Yes, I think it's about time we write off. Kobold will be joining us next week. He will not be starting off the session as initially intended. We will be hopefully plan will be quickly get through the ferry ride into Excelsior, maybe do a day or 2 time skip. We appreciate you all joining us for here. If you're watching on YouTube, do feel free to like, subscribe, comment what you like, comment what you don't like. Need to know, want to know, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye, y'all.